Chapter 2. We finished up with just enough time to get me out of there and make it to work on time, according to my GPS. As my ride driver pulled away from the studio, I started drifting off in the back seat. I was pretty tired. I think I was still getting over jet lag too. It was a good thing I worked at a coffee shop. I felt pretty good about my appearance on Mauricio's podcast overall. I wasn't sure exactly how long we talked, but we definitely clocked over 2 hours. And we didn't just talk about Sefairianism either, which was nice. We got to go around the entire gambit of topics. I got to share my hot takes on politics, women, and dating, and I got to tell some fun stories about being on the road for comedy. All very unfiltered, just what the doctor ordered. It was pretty cool. We had fun. I was also, and probably more importantly so, able to plug my big feature spot down at the Funny Box Comedy Club, along with my social media. I tried to play myself up like I was this busy, touring, hot young comic on the rise. The reality was, I'm a sleep-deprived, open mic comedian with a fucking day job. Speaking of my job, I was closing tonight, which was weird. I was grateful from a scheduling perspective because it allowed me to do the podcast, but it was still weird. I usually didn't close. I hadn't closed in months. It didn't matter. I'd still be able to make the open mic at Gino's tonight. "Are you a comedian too?" the driver asked me, breaking the nice silence we had going. He had a thick accent I couldn't quite place. It sounded like he might be from up north, near the border of Patros. His question caught me off guard. Yeah? What gave me away? "I pick up other guy from same address I pick you up from." "Oh yeah?" "Yeah. He kind of look like you, but with more hair. Crazy hair. Smells like weed." Tito. I stay following that fool. "Yeah, that sounds like a friend of mine. He's a good comic. You should follow him on social media." I gave him Tito's social media info. We spent the next couple of minutes talking about comedy and how cool my driver thought it was. My driver's name was Saphir. I was able to share in some fellowship with him briefly. I mentioned that I too used to be a ride driver for a couple of years when I first moved to the city. My freelance taxi career came to an abrupt end when my car's transmission failed in a no parking zone, which I only found out about the no parking zone part afterward. My car was then towed and destroyed before I could get enough money together to get it out of impound. Between the cost it would have took to get it out of impound and then repair the transmission, it wasn't worth the trouble. I figured I'd just let him have it. He then asked me if that was my last job I had before going full-time comedy. I was tempted to keep my lie going from the podcast that I was this young, touring hotshot, but lying was exhausting, and I was too tired for all of that, so I just told him the truth. I told him I was actually a barista, and that's where he was taking me, to work. He looked down at his phone to verify where he was taking me, and when he did, his tone changed. "Wait, you work there?" Yes, sir." "Do you know that place is owned by a Sefairian cult?" I did know this. The word cult made it sound so negative, though. They called it intentional community. I like that better. Tomato, tomato, I suppose. "You mean Sefausa," I clarified to my Patroke friend. "They actually call it intentional community." My attempt to stick up for my people and my employers. "Huh, intentional community my ass. I call that being in a cult," he fired back. In a way, I was beginning to love his harsh, unnerved way of looking at things. "That's fair," I told him. But for the record, I had no idea of this intentional community or cult business when I first applied to work at the coffee shop 2 years ago. I just needed a job, and I couldn't pass up a gig right down the street from my apartment that gave me access to free coffee 7 days a week. I found out about the cult part about a month into the job when one of my coworkers, Trish, made some cheeky comment about not being paid. Hard stop. Naturally, I asked a few follow-up questions. She gave me a rundown of the whole thing. How it was that both her and I worked the same job, but I got paid and she didn't, and yet somehow that was all kosher. She told me that was what being part of a community was all about. They worked hard and made money for the community. In return, all of their basic needs were met. 3 square meals a day and a warm place to sleep type of stuff. Her explanation made sense, but I couldn't say I truly understood the economics of the whole arrangement. To be honest, I barely understood how money worked. From Trish's explanation, it all sounded above board, and I moved on with my life. People would get so weird whenever I told them I worked there as an ex-observant Sefairian who wasn't trying to reconvert or anything, like it was some big deal. My employers knew where I was with things and never pressured me about it. It was chill. I won't leave the job because, truly, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, I don't give a shit what people believe. The whole thing was just exhausting. So what if a community of people want to believe some crazy stuff and live together? They were fine. These folks were having a good time, always playing music and having parties. No one was being held against their will, from what I could tell. So what the hell do I care one way or the other? I'm out here just trying to make money. I'm the type of guy who thinks there's a nice, sweet center spot where all of this science and spiritual stuff intertwine and mingle, where everything finally makes sense. Other than that, I try not to get caught up in people's theories about the world. Do you know much about them? I finally broke the awkward silence that was starting to take root after his comment. I wasn't being coy with my question. I truly was curious. Just on the off chance that Sefair might inform me of something about this Sefairian cult I worked for that I didn't already know. Are you Sefairian? He asked. Well, yes, but not practicing, I tried to explain. As soon as it was clear from the way I answered that he wasn't going to offend me, he told me all about his disdain for the Sefairian religion and people. That's when I knew he was from Patros. It was weird hearing him bash my people, but in the same respect, I wasn't about to try and defend all the atrocities of my people toward the nation of Patros. All ancient history, of course. Things you can read about that happened hundreds of years ago, stuff that should be water under the bridge by now, but I guess I get it. A lot of those Patroc bastards from up north still have a bad taste in their mouth from 100 years back, and rightfully so. To make things worse, Sefair apparently had a cousin, or a friend of a cousin. I wasn't sure. He kind of mumbled when he said it, and I wasn't about to ask him to repeat it. Either way, this cousin, let's call him, used to be a driver for Quick Foods Delivery, the company that delivers our food order to the coffee shop and the intentional community every week. According to Sefair, I guess this cousin fell in love with a nice Sefairian girl living with the Sefausa community. Ah, a story as old as time. After he fell for this girl, I guess they went on a couple of dates, but then she said she couldn't be with him if he didn't convert. And so he did what any man thinking with the wrong head would do. He converted. Though he was from Patros, ethnically Gentile, the Sefausa community welcomed him with open arms. In no time at all, this cousin was attending Sefairian scripture studies a couple times a week, going to church on Sundays, and then, the next thing he knew, he was being circumcised and baptized into the religion. This must have been one saucy little Sefairian mama. He ended up marrying that Sefairian girl. Now they live just outside the city with 4 kids, where he works on the corporate side of Quick Foods, making 6 figures. As Sefair was saying all of this, I thought about it, and that all actually sounded kind of nice. He pulled curbside in front of the coffee shop. I still had a couple of minutes to spare before my shift started. I shook his hand and thanked him for the safe trip and for the conversation. He was an interesting dude, and I liked him. I really enjoyed talking to men with real convictions. You don't meet too many men like that anymore. It was refreshing to hear a man talk who wasn't trying to please everyone when he spoke. I think it's healthy for men to share dissenting, unabashed opinions every once in a while. For this, I tipped him well on the app. I still had a little time, so I walked over to Lalo's. The past 6 months, I'd really developed this bad habit of going into Lalo's every other shift during my mid-morning break to pick up a sweet Madrean pastry. It was those damn conchas. And the fact that Lalo's was literally right next door to the coffee shop. Lalo, sácale las conchas, I asked him in my crappy but passable Madrean Spanish. No te la hales, güero, he answered. You crazy, James. Look at the clock, fool. I did. 12:02. Oh crap, I'm late, I laughed. I technically had until 12:05 to clock in, but whatever. A couple minutes didn't matter. After 2 years of busting my ass there, I practically had tenure. So no conchas? I asked. You know the deal. We sell out of our entire bakery case by 10 a.m. most days. Yeah, I know. Those are some damn good conchas. What else do you got for me? I scanned quickly and grabbed a protein bar. The bakery case was in fact empty. Where's Vicky? She got anything baking in the oven? Nothing that's going to be ready in 5 minutes. I walked up to Lalo in all seriousness. Hey man, I said, sticking out my hand to dap him. I just wanted to give my condolences to you and your family about your old man. He took my hand and thanked me for my words. We both went back and forth agreeing that his father was indeed a good man. He released me, and I started down the aisle. Bro, what did you call that cream-filled thing you had me try the other day with my coffee? He was thinking. It kind of looks like a conch shell or some shit. Oh, you're talking about the corona de crema. Yeah, dude, that mess was nice. I had it with my coffee like you said, and it was yummy as hell. Muy bien. I'm glad to hear it. I approached the counter with my protein bar, scanning around to see if there was something else I wanted to grab before work. Just a protein bar? He asked. Yeah, just the protein bar then. Oh, and some grape swishers. I pointed behind him. I remember Devontae was talking about maybe smoking a blunt later.